the topic today will be design thinking in education. So the main goal that we have in this talk is defining, first of all, design thinking. What are the applications of design thinking and how we can use it in different fields, and specifically the education field, as we as educators in Jazan University and maybe other fields. So the main outline or agenda for our talk today will be defining design thinking, and second, we'll go about explaining the importance of design thinking in different fields, and specifically we'll go deep into how our students can benefit from learning and experiencing and engaging in design thinking activities. And we'll go through the process of design thinking and explaining the different phases in that methodology. And finally, I will give you some tips into how you can design a workshop that based on design thinking approach. So first of all, what is design thinking? So when I looked online, I found so many definitions of design thinking. Some are defined by institutions or organizations that implemented this approach like 30 or 40 years ago. And I'll share with you some of the definitions, but they all share some like principles, main principles that we need to take on when we implement design thinking in our field. So design thinking is a creative problem solving. So this is the main point in applying design thinking, is that we want to solve problems. We want to find ideas for our challenges or problems in the real world. And we want to do that in a creative and innovative way. So generating ideas, prototyping ideas, and thinking about how these ideas can be designed in a different way. It's not just looking at problems and nagging about them. No, we have to look at these problems as a way of engaging with people and a way of engaging with creative thinking and unlocking some of the potentials that we have as a human beings, and critical thinking also, and providing solutions that matches the needs of people. So that takes us to the second important point in design thinking, is that it emphasizes on human factor or human-centered approach. So the main driver for implementing design thinking approach is that we take care of the human side, and we start from people and think about what people need when we solve this problem, what people desires when we try to tackle this issue, and what other considerations we need to work on, and how we can involve people or users in the design of like new systems or new products or new services to find solutions for complex everyday issues. So some of the major design firms like IDEO and Stanford Design School use this methodology in helping companies or institutions worldwide to solve everyday challenges using this approach. So if you look at IDEO definition of design thinking, it's a human-centered approach, as we established, considering humans as the main center, the main driver for finding solution. So we start with humans in mind, and we go through the process thinking about their needs and their feelings and their desires. Second, we integrate that with the possibilities that current technologies give us. So technology give us certain limitations and feasibilities that we need to look at when we design, but we're not starting from the technology itself. We seek the needs of users in the beginning, and we try to see how that fits with the technology itself. So most of the times, we don't build new technologies from scratch. Maybe the technology that people are used to, or a system that people are comfortable using, that's the solution that we need to go with. It doesn't have to be always going with the new trend or the new technologies or building new systems. So we look at the human side, the desirability of people using or people challenges, and we look how we manage that with the current technology. And in this definition, they added one more layer, which is the business requirements. So the solution can be targeted to businesses that need to make profit. And of course, if they need to make a profit, they need to make sure that their customer needs, their customer desires are met when they're designing these systems. So why design thinking is important? We established some of these points, but we will iterate on them. So today we live in a changing world with complex problems. So no one has solutions for all these problems. No single person, no single organization, no single government have solution for all these problems. We need to have creative way. We need to engage with everyone. We need to make sure that the needs of the target users might be all people. It might be people with disabilities. It might be students. It might be faculty members. It might be employees. All of these people have different needs, have different experiences, have different desires. And we need to consider each one of them as one target user when we build a system, when we think about their problems and how we can solve them. So the focus is on people experiences, and experiences differ from one target group to another. Also, if we talk about people with disabilities, within disabilities, you will have different people with disabilities that we need to really study and really look at their everyday challenges and how we can solve these challenges. So that was part of my PhD work. I worked with people with disabilities, specifically cognitive and learning disabilities. And when I tried to build a system for them to engage with everyday life, I had to go and study how they interact with everyone around them, how they can go about achieving their everyday activities, like going to the mall, ordering something online. And through that engagement and observing how they achieve those everyday activities, I could like design or suggest some ideas to help solve these challenges. So design thinking increases creativity and engagement. This comes through ideas creation. So we create so many ideas to solve one specific problem. The first idea does not have to be always the right solution. After we build so many ideas or test so many ideas and improve on them, we could reach to one perfect solution that matches the needs and solve the challenges of the target users. Encourages collaborative efforts and teamwork. So this comes when we do the workshop itself. The experiences of the users themselves or the customers bring so many value to the discussion. So when we want to build something for students, the first participants that needs to be in the meeting are students. We can also include faculty members. We can also include managers. So the collective efforts from all of these people sitting together and thinking about the solution in a teamwork setting can bring so many value instead of just thinking of the solution as one department or like IT department or some other departments, including all the stakeholders in the session, and make sure that everyone have their say in the solution and identifying the issue. Mostly in design thinking activities, we have hands-on activity. So it unlocks some of the creative thinking or critical thinking exercises when people have something to play with in their hands, like sticky notes, and do some drawings, and maybe do some initial prototyping or paper prototyping on paper. So that's unlocks some of the like brain activity when engaging in the design thinking activities. Structured way of finding solution, and we will discuss the process itself. It starts with working with participants and then identifying the problem, and then ideating or creating ideas, prototyping, and then testing. It depends on iterative process. What we mean by iterative process is the process keeps changing or keeps improving the solution until we find a perfect solution that matches the need of people. So the quote here is creative, or creativity now is as important in education as literacy. So like Ken Robinson compare it to reading and writing skills. So if we teach our students reading and writing skills, we need to teach them how to be creative thinkers, because this is a great skill that they need to master. They need to have in order to be productive members of the society and the community, and also participate in everyday challenges. So why do we need design thinking in education specifically, and how it's helped students to be creative thinkers? So it prepares students for the real world scenarios or challenges. So when you give students some challenge in a creative design thinking activity, the challenge should be a real scenario from the outside world. It doesn't have to be imaginative scenario. People or students have to work on something that can be implemented outside. We have to give them scenarios or challenges that they can think about other people. So, for example, we can give them a challenge or a scenario for all people or elderly people, and they have to think how they can provide solutions to help older people maybe navigate the city or access applications or access services. And we give them tasks like go talk to someone you know who's old or like elderly people. Hear from them what kind of challenges they have, and how you can maybe create some ideas to help them maybe access services, access the internet, maybe tutorials that they can use to go to like to the internet and explore those services online. The second point is help students work in groups. So usually when we conduct activities in classroom, we encourage students to work in groups, and we encourage them to do teamwork activities. And that's a good way of students communicating with each other, students engaging with other students, communicating their ideas. Maybe we have like the abilities of our students vary from one student who have the ability to talk, and we have shy students who are afraid to speak aloud. But when they are working in a small group, they are more engaged with their classmates. They can have their ideas exposed, and they can have some creative ideas coming from that session. And also during the session, we can allow for many ways of like ideas extracting. So those who are afraid to talk or shy to talk, they can maybe write down their ideas on sticky notes. They can have some ways of deciding which idea is better. They have drawing skills or design skills. And when they work in a group, each member can bring their own experience. So one student might have good design skills. They can draw on a paper. One have good technology background. The other one is more critical thinker. So when they work in a team, they are more likely to bring greater ideas than just working by themselves. And that emphasizes on they can share those skills, they can learn those skills from each other, and they improve as a group in total. So now we established what we mean by design thinking. It needs to be creative. It needs to focus on the humans or people in general, and it needs to focus on solving problems. So what is the process that goes into design thinking, and how we can establish this process? So the process consists of 5 different phases. The first one, we emphasize or we empathize with our users. So we should understand what are the feelings of our users, what are the needs of our target users. So this phase with the define phase comes under understanding. So in these first 2 phases, we're trying to understand our users in the beginning and defining the real problem. So in the emphasize, we might talk to users, we might interview them, we might engage them in the process itself of expressing their needs or their desires. And we take that and do a little bit of analysis in the define phase and discuss what are the main challenge for this group. So we might have like 5 or 10 users representing this group. And in the define phase, we look at common challenge among this number of users. In the ideate, we start thinking about solutions or ideas, like initial ideas for the proposed issue or for the problem statement. We just think about any number of ideas that can solve the problem. We don't evaluate the ideas yet. We'll evaluate them in the prototype phase. So when we reach to the prototype phase, we should have only one idea that is suitable or applicable for our target users. And then we also go and test it again with our users. So if you go through each one of these steps, step 1, empathizing. So we put people first. We make sure that we involve them in the process, maybe throughout all the steps, even in the prototyping. We can ask them to be participants and be one of the designers. So everyone can design, everyone can be part of the design process. One main point is you are not the user. We don't have to make assumptions that we know everything about the user. If you are a faculty member, you know your students, but you are not the end user of the system or the product that you want to build for your students. For sure, you'll miss some of their needs, some of their desires, some of their abilities. So making sure that we empathize with real people, we engage with real people when we design our systems or when we engage our users in the design thinking process is a key thing to make sure that we deliver better outcomes based on real users. So the quote by Jacob Nelson, the only person not at the stakeholder meeting is the user. Often we see meetings on a higher level, like manager or leadership meetings. They want to build solutions for like lower level employees or stakeholders, and those stakeholders often are not invited into those meetings. They don't hear what they need, what their desires, what their abilities. So we need to make sure that those people can be heard, those people are engaged in the process. If you're building something for students, students should be part of this process. So in this phase, we mainly focus on doing research. It can be interviews, it can be questionnaires, it can be observing users and seeing how they go about achieving their activities. And we can design empathy maps. There's a way to design empathy map that focus on 4 areas for our users. So after we discuss the challenges with our users, we have to go and find patterns and match the themes with the user. So we group each common patterns in one single theme. This theme will help us identify what is the larger problem statement and what should we focus on after discussing the needs and the challenges for a group number of users. And we take that into the ideation process. So the ideation, we take the problem itself and we say we have open platform to create so many ideas. What kind of ideas work to solve this problem? It can be technology, it can be physical product, it can be one service, it can be a system that our users already use, and we can just implement it directly with them. So we can think of any ideas. All ideas are accepted in this phase. So this quote by Linus, the best way, a lot of ideas. So to reach to that perfect idea, you have to go through so many bad ideas and improve them until you get to the perfect idea. In the 4th phase, we have to do some prototyping. Prototyping doesn't mean you have perfect designs or perfect completed systems. It means that the ideas that you have written in sentences, you transfer them into something tangible on paper. It can be interfaces, it can be like physical product using paper or some other materials. And when you build those prototypes, it will be easier to explain them back to your users or any other stakeholders, and it will be easier to test than just written statements. The final phase is always test before launching the product. If you have any product or any system or any idea that you prototype, make sure that you go back to your users, go back to your customers, go back to the stakeholder and test that idea before launching it. So if you're designing something for students or students are engaged in some activity that they design something for any type of group, students should go and test that with the users themselves and make sure that the initial research that they did to explore the needs and the outcome matches the final product that they designed, or matches the final product that they came with after the prototyping phase. Okay, so if you want to design or structure a design thinking workshop, how that could be. So that can be within a course in the in one of the courses, can be one topic, or it can be a mini project that students can take throughout the semester, or it can be something outside of the course itself. Can be, as we said, in a higher level in the educational institute itself or at scale. So first, we need to define the objectives and the scope of the workshop. So now we are not discussing the problem itself. We're saying we want to fix this thing. We have something that needs to be enhanced, something that we need to make sure that it captures or it needs fixing. So what is the scope and the objective of the workshop? Decide who to include. So if you're targeting students, we said that they are the end users, so they have to be included. Who else can you include in the workshop? Depends on the scope or the objective of the workshop itself. So if you're designing like a system for elderly people outside, or students are designing a system for like people with disabilities have to be included in the system development or in the workshop itself. And you have to include as many experts in the workshop to gain that interaction and engagement and creative thinking. Prepare any necessary materials. We say maybe we'll have some creative design activities, and we need pens, paper, sticky notes, and other materials for hands-on activities. You'll have to introduce the session and the process and give a timeline for each phase. So usually you'll go through each of the 5 phases. You will discuss the benefits or the outcomes from each phase. It can be done in one day, it can be done in multiple days, and the workshop has to have some outcome by the end of the sessions. And finally, you'll wrap up the workshop and evaluate what was discussed and what was the outcome of the workshop. So if we discuss one case study, so the university wants to enhance the student enrollment process via the academic portal. So those who are engaged in the admission process for new students are your participants. So students, or we can say anyone wants to apply for an admission to the university is one stakeholder. The IT who is building the system needs to be in the team. The designers, the admission deanship also needs to be there as participants and engage in this process. The materials, as we discussed, can be sticky notes, pen, pencils, and papers. So we'll have to go through the phases, start to empathizing with students and how we could make sure that the needs and the requirements that they want are implemented in the system. And we identify the main challenge and what is the challenges that they have with the current system and how we could redesign the new system to be more easier, to be more efficient to students. And that comes through proposing ideas different ideas, and then we come up with one idea or multiple features that we can implement and then test with the user. So to give a summary, design thinking is a creative thinking process, deals with real problems and solve real issues that people have in their everyday activities or in their everyday life. It can be in different fields, and we discussed can be in business or relation between business and IT, or research or innovation or education. Can be something that be done for students or other stakeholders. It's considered as a great tool, and sometimes it's offered as a mindset that someone can take to learn those skills or to learn the 21st century skills, including collaboration. When students collaborate with their classmates, and when they think about the real world problems and how they can solve them, how they can think about other people and empathize with other people's feelings and needs and get feedback from those people, apply creativity when they design those ideas, and critical thinking when they evaluate the different ideas that they came up with, and finally communication and how they communicate their ideas with their classmates or with others, maybe the user that they invited. That's also great communication channel with students and people from outside of the classroom. So this is the end of the workshop or the session. I hope that I delivered insightful information for everyone here. Thanks for attending. And if you have any questions, I'm free to answer them.
شكرا جزيلا سعادة الدكتور عبدالعزيز، شرفتنا ونورتنا. اهلا وسهلا بحضرتك، وعلى وعد طبعا من حضرتك ان شاء الله بلقاءات عديده وماتعه، وربنا سبحانه وتعالى ينفعنا بعلمك ويجعله في موازين حسناتك. كان لقاء شيق، وعن نفسي يتحدث وبالنيابه عن زملائي في مركز التعليم الالكتروني بنشكر حضرتك الشكر الجزيل. انا استمتعت باللقاء وتعلمت منه الكثير. شكرا جزيلا لحضرتك، اهلا وسهلا بيك في رحاب مركز التعليم الالكتروني، وهو بيتك الاول يعني من البدايه، واحنا اخوه لحضرتك ونتعلم منك ان شاء الله باذن الله كل جديد. ونفتح الان المجال للساده الحضور لو في اي استفسارات او شيء. واستسمح حضرتك يا دكتور انا يعني نفتح المايك للحضور لو في اي مداخله تكون بالصوت يعني. خلاص الان الحضور يستطيعوا ان هم يشغلوا المايك، وشكرا لحضرتك.
الله يعطيك العافيه يا دكتور احمد، وشاكر لكم يعني البادره، وانا ادعو الجميع انه فرصه. يعني المركز الان يعني يدعو الجميع لتقديم دورات وفيها يعني فائده ونشر معرفه، مشاركه لجميع الاعضاء، وباذن الله ان نكون قدمنا شيء يعني يفيد الجميع، ومستمرين باذن الله معكم دكتور احمد ودكتور تركي باذن الله في تقديم المفيد دائما. اذا في اي مداخله في سؤال ممكن في الشات، يعني برضو نعطي فرصة للناس اللي ما حابة تتكلم ممكن ترسل في الشات ونجاوب، ما في مشكلة. أو اللي حاب يشارك المايك متاح، وأنا أسعد بأي تواصل. يعني وضعت الإيميل هنا، إذا في أي شخص يعني مهتم في مجال التصميم أو التفكير التصميمي أو الكوديزاين أو الأكتيفيتيز أو الوركشوبس في مجال التصميم، برضو ممكن نفيده في هذا المجال.